There's a moment, a very quiet moment, when a woman first feels it. Nothing has happened yet. No proof, no confession, no dramatic discovery. Just a feeling. A shift in the air. A change in the way he says your name. A difference in the way he looks at you, or the way he doesn't. And the strange thing about that moment is that most women don't panic. They don't scream. They don't accuse. They go silent. They observe. They start collecting small pieces of information that don't make sense yet. They start asking themselves questions they never thought they'd have to ask. Why is he suddenly so protective over his phone? Why does he get irritated when I ask simple questions? Why do I feel alone when I'm sitting right next to him? And here's the part no one talks about. When a woman first suspects she's being cheated on, her heart doesn't break immediately. First, her intuition whispers. Then her mind starts trying to make excuses. Then her stomach starts to hurt. Then her sleep starts to change. Then her personality starts to change. Then the overthinking starts. Then the anxiety starts. Then the checking starts. Then the silence starts. And by the time the truth finally reveals itself, she is already exhausted. Not from the cheating, from the not knowing. Because not knowing will drain a woman faster than the truth ever will. And if you've ever been in that position, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That feeling where you're not crazy, but you're starting to feel crazy. That feeling where you don't have proof, but your soul is uncomfortable. That feeling where you start paying attention to small things you used to ignore. So today, we're not just talking about signs he may be cheating. We're talking about the signs because sometimes the signs aren't just about him. Sometimes the signs are about what your spirit is trying to tell you. One of the first signs is distance. And I don't just mean physical distance. I mean emotional distance, mental distance, spiritual distance. It's when conversations become shorter, when eye contact becomes rare, when laughter becomes forced, when you start feeling like you're talking to him instead of with him, when you start feeling like you're in the relationship by yourself. Another sign is secrecy. Sudden secrecy, not normal privacy, secrecy. There's a difference. Privacy is healthy. Secrecy is defensive. Privacy says, I'm allowed to have personal space. Secrecy says, I don't want you to see something. When the phone suddenly flips face down every time you walk in the room. When text messages are suddenly deleted. When passwords suddenly change. When he starts taking phone calls in another room. When he suddenly needs air and space and time to think. Those are not always signs of cheating, but they are almost always signs that something has changed. And the most confusing part for women is this. Cheating rarely starts with another woman. It starts with distance. It starts with disconnection. It starts with secrets. It starts with silence. It starts with a man slowly leaving emotionally before he ever leaves physically. Another sign is irritation. He's suddenly irritated by things he used to love about you. The way you talk too much. The way you ask questions. The way you want to spend time together. The way you laugh. The way you exist. And you start shrinking. You start talking less. You start asking for less. You start needing less. You start becoming less, trying to keep someone who is already halfway out the door. And that is one of the most painful positions a woman can ever be in, fighting for a relationship that the other person is quietly exiting. Another sign is inconsistency. His schedule stops making sense. Stories don't line up. Timing is off. He's hard to reach at certain hours. He used to call, now he texts. He used to text, now he disappears. He used to tell you everything, now you find things out later. Your relationship starts to feel like a puzzle, and you're the only one trying to put the pieces together. Another sign is guilt behavior. This one confuses a lot of women. Sometimes when a man is cheating, he becomes extra nice, extra loving, extra generous, random gifts, random compliments, random affection, and you think, maybe things are getting better. But sometimes, that's guilt. Guilt will make people overcompensate. So now you're confused because you see distance and affection, secrets and gifts, irritation and compliments, disappearance and sudden attention, and confusion is where many women stay stuck for years. But I need you to understand something very important. The signs are not just there to expose him, the signs are there to wake you up. Because the most dangerous thing that can happen to a woman is not being cheated on, it's losing herself while trying to prove it. Checking phones, checking social media, checking locations, checking followers, checking likes, checking who liked what, checking who watched his story, slowly turning yourself into a detective instead of a woman who is loved out loud. And one day you wake up and realize you don't even recognize yourself anymore. You're anxious, you're insecure, you're overthinking everything, you're reading into everything, you're stressed, you're tired, you're emotional, you're reactive, you're hurt, you're quiet, you're angry, you're confused. And the worst part? You're loyal. You're loyal to someone who is making you feel alone. So yes, there are signs he may be cheating. But there are also signs that you deserve better. Here are those signs. If you have to beg for communication, if you feel anxious more than you feel secure, if your personality has changed and you're not as happy as you used to be, if you feel like you're competing for his attention, if you feel like you can't ask questions without it turning into an argument, if you feel like you're walking on eggshells, if your intuition keeps telling you something is wrong, if you feel alone in your own relationship, those are your signs. Because the truth is, a man who truly loves you does not make you feel like a detective, a burden, an option, or a problem. He makes you feel safe. He makes you feel chosen. He makes you feel calm. He makes you feel secure. He makes you feel at peace. And peace is something many women don't realize is love until after heartbreak. Sometimes you don't realize how much anxiety you were living in until you're finally out of the relationship and you can breathe again. Sometimes the biggest sign he was cheating is the peace you feel after you leave. That's the part no one expects. You think you're going to fall apart. You think you're going to be miserable. You think you're going to miss him forever. But what many women feel after leaving a relationship where they were being lied to, manipulated, or cheated on is peace. Pain, yes. Sadness, yes. Grief, yes. But also, peace. Because your body is no longer living in confusion. So if you're watching this and you're in that quiet suspicion stage, I want you to hear me very clearly. You don't need to become a detective to prove your worth. You don't need to prove that you're lovable. You don't need to compete with another woman. You don't need to shrink to keep a man. You don't need to beg someone to be honest with you. You don't need to investigate someone who is supposed to love you. Sometimes the closure you are looking for is not in his phone. It's in his behavior. It's in his distance. It's in his inconsistency. It's in how you feel when you're with him. Your feelings are information. Your anxiety is information. Your confusion is information. Your intuition is information. And sometimes the bravest thing a woman can do is not prove he's cheating. It's walking away because she finally realizes she deserves a love she doesn't have to question. One day, you will understand that the signs were not there to break your heart. They were there to save your life. If this video spoke to you, this is your reminder that you are not crazy, you are not overthinking, and you are not asking for too much. You are asking the wrong person for the right things. Healing starts when you stop trying to prove your worth to someone who benefits from you doubting it. If you're on a healing journey, subscribe to this channel. This is a safe space for women who are healing, rebuilding, and rediscovering themselves after heartbreak. Comment below, I choose peace, because from this moment forward, that's what we're choosing. Peace over confusion, peace over anxiety, peace over disrespect, peace over someone who isn't sure about us. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching.